Musical musings, musical musings, musical musings, musical musings.
Hello and good afternoon. Welcome back to the latest episode of Musical Musings, airing every Wednesday at 1 p.m. We broadcast this program to you from Rajamakan, University of Technology, Peranakan. I'll be bringing you this program in two parts. For our first part, I will introduce a song to you, and we will discuss a little bit first about the band or the performer that performs the song. And then we will talk about the song a little bit. So we will discuss the main idea about the song, the main themes, what the song is about. Then we will go ahead and listen to the song. After that, we will get to the second part of the program. In the second part, we will analyze the lyrics. The lyrics are the words to the song. We will especially take a look at any difficult vocabulary, slang, or idioms. An idiom is a saying we have in English where the words we're using, the meaning isn't exactly what the words would suggest. So we will discuss anything like that that may be hard to understand. Then we will have the news and latest updates from the university, as always.
Musical musings, musical musings, musical musings, musical musings.
Welcome, everyone. My name is Gary Gray, and I am your host for our Musical Musings program. I'm an American English teacher here at Rajamakan, University of Technology, Peranakan. I've been teaching here about 7 years, and of course I teach English, but I do like to incorporate music into my teaching sometimes. And so that's why I am bringing this program to you, which is about music. And for today's song, we are going to be doing the song Barracuda by a band named Heart. Let's first talk about Heart. Okay, so they were formed in 1973 in Seattle, Washington. They were founded by Roger Fisher and Stephen Fossen, but they are better known for their front women. We usually call them front men, but in this case, it's two women. The front men are usually the lead singer or lead singers. It's the people you see out in front. If you were to go to a live concert, they're going to be the ones out front singing the most. We call them the front men. And in this case, they are women. It is Ann and Nancy Wilson. Okay, so again, this band formed in 1973 in Seattle, Washington. You may not know where that is in the USA. It's on the West Coast. It is the home of Starbucks. I don't know. I recently heard, I think Starbucks moved their headquarters, but that's where their headquarters was for a long time. That's where they were founded. So when you think of Starbucks, you should think of Seattle, Washington. All right. So Heart, again, it was formed by Roger Fisher and Stephen Fossen, but they were not the leads. Ann and Nancy Wilson were the leads. So they're a very interesting band because I have discussed on this program many times when the founders of a band leave, it's a little weird when they still call the band by the same name. That's not the band as it was created. Okay, and in the early 80s, I believe it might have been 1982, Roger Fisher and Stephen Fossen left. So it would be really weird to continue this band as Heart. I find that does not work when a band does that. When the founders of the band leave, it's really an entirely different band now because it's not the same people. You're not getting the same sound. You're not getting the same singers. Doesn't work. I think it's really bad when bands do that, when like the entire original lineup leaves. However, this time it actually worked. Worked for two reasons. First of all, Ann and Nancy Wilson came into Heart pretty early on. It was almost right away. So they may as well have been founders. They basically just didn't form the band. Roger and Stephen formed the band. The second thing is they, being the front men or front women, they were the two lead singers. They stayed. So the sound of the band remained the same. That never changed. So it kept its same sound. So it worked. Now, there has been some friction within the band, especially between the two sisters at times. So they have broken up a couple of times, but they did get back together again in 2013. And so they are still together today. So Heart is still around today. They've been around all the way since 1973 up until now. They have had a couple of breaks, like I said. One of the breaks was fairly long, I guess. Well, both of the breaks were kind of long, years long, but still not that long. It's not like they had broken up for 10 years at any point. No. No, they broke up for a few years at a time and then came back together. Now, as far as their style of music, it's a very kind of interesting style because they have some heavy metal music. Well, I'm not sure you'd call it heavy metal. It's at least hard rock. The song we're doing today is probably hard rock. But they also have some folk music, especially some of their older music is more folk style, which you think of as really kind of calm, quiet, slower music. So they really have a wide variety of music. I would say if you look at their most popular songs, most of them are more like Barracuda. They're more kind of the hard rock style songs. They're faster songs. They're more energetic songs. And one of the reasons is that Ann and Nancy Wilson are really powerful singers. A lot of times, and it's unfortunate, it's just because their voices sometimes can be softer. A lot of times it's hard for women to do hard rock or heavy metal. I'm particularly a fan of a few heavy metal bands now, and sometimes they'll perform with members from other bands. They'll do like a collaboration. Sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes in some of these bands, some of the female singers, their voice is not strong enough. It's just genetics. Not to try to pick on the women. Some of them do just fine. And Ann and Nancy Wilson are a great example. Their voices are very powerful. So it really worked well. That's why they were so popular. A lot of energy. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the song. The name of the song, again, is Barracuda. Okay, so this came out in 1977. And if you think about the timeline I gave you before, that would be before they broke up, didn't break up, before the two founders left. So it's very interesting that this is still one of their most popular songs. And they performed it. I'm sure they still perform it today at their concerts, even though they've been doing it. They're probably tired of it. They're probably bored with it. They've been doing it for, 45 years now. They're probably tired of it, but I'm sure they do it because their fans want to hear it. Again, because the two women are still there, it actually works. A lot of times when you lose some of your founders, like I said before, it doesn't work. The only other band I can think of where it worked okay, and it's not really like they lost all of their founders, but it was that they lost their lead singer, which is even worse. And that is AC/DC. They lost their lead singer. He died. They got a new lead singer. Surprisingly, their new lead singer was probably as good as their previous lead singer, which is surprising because their original lead singer was quite good. So AC/DC managed to continue pretty strongly. They did have a little kind of a down period there when they were in between trying to figure things out. But they're another band that managed to succeed with a pretty big lineup change. So again, song came out in 1977 with the original band members. So this is a kind of a hard song to understand. So let me first explain to you what the word Barracuda means and how they're using it here. So a Barracuda is a type of fish. You may not have heard of it because I don't think we have them here in Thailand. I know they have them in like South America. We don't really even have them in North America either, but South America is close enough. We're all familiar with it. We know what a barracuda is. A barracuda is a fish. Tends to be kind of a long fish. Not huge. It's not a giant fish. Not some big creature in the ocean. But it is mean. It has a lot of teeth. Very sharp teeth. It is known for being very mean. Sometimes we think about piranha the same way. Piranhas, I think, are a little bit smaller, but they also have teeth, very mean. So sometimes we use this phrase as slang, basically to talk about a bad person, a mean person. We don't use it very often. Even back when this song was written, they didn't use it very often, but they probably used it a little more often. And that's kind of how this word is being used here. I say kind of because they do try to mix it in with sort of meaning what it's supposed to mean. Like they mention a porpoise a couple of times in the song. A porpoise is kind of like a dolphin. It's a sea creature. So why are we mentioning a porpoise when we're talking about the slang term for barracuda? So they're trying to make it work with the whole song, which is kind of an interesting thing to do there. But they really mean it here in the slang sense. They mean it as a bad person, a mean person. In fact, when you listen to the song, you can almost hear that they're kind of angry, and there is anger in the song. But one of the reasons I say that the song is tricky is it's really hard to understand what the lyrics are supposed to mean. The reason it's difficult is because she couldn't really write the song. I say she. It was written by Ann Wilson, one of the sisters. She couldn't really write the song about what it was really about, because what it was about was something pretty bad. So someone, and I believe it was someone kind of related to the band. It wasn't someone in the band, or they probably would have been thrown out of the band immediately. But it was like one of the music producers or someone at the record company or something like that suggested to Anne, or accused Anne, of having an inappropriate relationship with her sister Nancy. I don't know if you understand what inappropriate relationship means, but it means like being boyfriend and girlfriend, or boyfriend and boyfriend, or in this case, girlfriend and girlfriend with someone who you should not be having as a boyfriend or girlfriend. Obviously, your own sister, that would not be proper. So that's what I mean by an inappropriate relationship. And so someone accused Ann Wilson of having an inappropriate relationship with her sister Nancy. She did not. So she was very angry and immediately wrote this song about that. Now, even today, you probably wouldn't put that in a song. It's a little weird. It's a little strange. But remember, this was written back in 1977. So this is going back a long time. When they were a little more careful about what they would put in songs. Usually, there are some. That was a time where they liked to have fun too. So there were a few songs that got a little interesting. But this was a pretty kind of mainstream band. Even though, like I said, they were a little different with the two front women, things like that. But they're pretty mainstream. So they weren't going to do something crazy, like putting that type of stuff in the lyrics here. So when we go through the lyrics, I'm mostly going to focus on things that are going to be sayings that may be hard to understand or words that may be hard to understand. I'm not going to focus too much on what she means in terms of like the deeper meaning of the song. I've explained it to you. I'll let you know what the words mean and what the sayings mean. And I'll let you see if you can figure out the song in terms of how those words fit into the meaning of the song. Some of the things are pretty easy. For example, when she talks about Barracuda, she's talking about the person that told her this. That's a bad person accusing her of this. That's pretty easy. And you can hear again the anger in the song when they're speaking. So there are some things that are fairly clear as far as what she means with some of the lyrics, but not everything. In fact, a lot of it's kind of hard to understand. There are a few other things in here, even though there are things I need to explain because they are sayings, like the phrase whisper game, which I will explain to you. That kind of will make sense. That will make good sense in terms of what this song is supposed to mean. But again, there's a lot that's hard to really figure out. So I'm not going to do too much of that when we go over this song. I will explain to you the words that are hard to understand and things like that. Okay. So now that I have said that, why don't we get to the song? All right. So for those of you joining us on YouTube, you know the story if you've watched this program before. We cannot embed the music video because of copyright reasons. So please click on the link in the upper right. And then once the song is done, you can jump back here for the rest of the program. And for those of you who are just listening, you should be just fine. So the song will just play. We will just put the song right in here, drop it in here for you, and it should just play fine. So let's get to the song. Here you go.
Musical musings, musical musings, musical musings, musical musings.
All right, welcome back. So that was Barracuda by Heart. And again, that song is about anger over false accusations. Okay. So we're going to go through these lyrics, and as I explained in the first part of the program, I'm not going to talk too much about what things mean in relationship to the meaning of the song. That's really hard to do with this song because the subject of the song is something that Ann Wilson, the writer, did not really want to talk about. And so it's not all very clear. It's clear that she's angry at someone. There are some words in here which make it clear that it's about things like rumors and accusations, like when she mentions the whisper game. But most of it's a little hard to understand. So we're just going to talk about words and phrases that in English might be hard to understand. Okay. So let's get started with this. Sometimes I kind of halfway sing the songs as we go through them. I'm not going to do that this time. My voice is a little bad this morning. And there are a few points in the song where I forget exactly how it goes. So let's just go through the lyrics and I will just read them for you. So we start out. So this ain't the end. I saw you again today. Okay, so here I will kind of tell you what she's saying. This person who she's talking about. And I think we're talking about the bad person who's spreading these bad things about them. She will see them again. But there is an English thing in here that I do want to talk about, an English word. So she says, so this ain't the end. I saw you again today. Ain't. We have a saying in English, ain't a word. Ain't is a replacement word for isn't. It's slang. Don't know who came up with it. It's been around a long time. People still use it. I even use it sometimes. I try not to because you don't sound very smart when you use it. But sometimes if just talking to a friend, just kind of playing around, you're saying something silly, you might say ain't. Some people use it more often. Sounds like she probably does since she started out the song like that. But ain't just means isn't. So this isn't the end is what she's saying. That's why she then says, I saw you again today. So this isn't the end. Next line is, I had to turn my heart away. So when you turn your heart away, this isn't a really common saying, but basically what she's saying is she's blocking out her feelings. Your heart, like when we talk about the heart in songs like this, we're talking about our feelings. So she's blocking out her feelings, probably because she's mad, I'm guessing. Although the next line makes that a little unclear. In fact, maybe she's not even talking about the bad guy. Maybe she's talking about her sister, and she has to kind of block out even just her normal love for her sister that she would have, because that's all she did have, because the accusations weren't true. But she has to like pretend and put some distance there because she doesn't want people thinking this accusation. I'm not sure. Again, not clear. Not clear. I'm not going to try to explain everything here. We'll just talk about what the words mean. So turning her heart away, it means she's not going to show her feelings, whether that's love to her sister or anger towards this bad person. Not clear. The reason I said it might be towards her sister is because the next line says, smiled like the sun, kisses for everyone. Now, I do actually think she is talking about the bad person because she's turning her feelings off. So she shows up, smiled like the sun. In other words, big, bright smile, kisses for everyone. So she sees this bad person. It's probably in some music production meeting. She gives him a big hug and kiss. So she's acting like she's still being nice because, you're around other people. You're going to pretend to be nice to this person, even though you're very angry at them. So I do think that's what she's talking about. But again, it's not clear. So smile like the sun. Again, that means a big smile. And kisses for everyone just means what it says. And then the song continues. And tails, it never fails. You're lying so low into the weeds. All right. Okay. What does this mean? All right. Tales. When we talk about someone telling a tale, that's tale, T-A-L-E, not tail like a dog or a cat has a tail. That's T-A-I-L. If someone's telling tales, it means they're lying. They're telling stories. A tale is a story. And sometimes that word doesn't mean it in a bad way. Like there's a movie called Tales from the Crypt. Okay, this bad movie because it's a scary movie, but the word tales is not used badly there. It just means stories. So tales just means stories. But when we talk about people telling tales, we really mean that they're lying. They're making up stories. So, and tales, it never fails. So I guess she's saying that this happens a lot because she's saying it never fails. When you say something never fails, you mean, oh God, here we go again. It's happening again. It's this same thing. So, and tales, it never fails. More stories. And then she continues, you're lying so low into the weeds. Okay. So when we talk about that, lying low in the weeds, What that's referring to is someone being sneaky, usually in a bad way. They're not being sneaky like, oh, I'm going to throw you a surprise party. No, it's sneaky bad. They're trying to listen for things, see if they hear any stories. They can tell these rumors. They can gossip. Just being very sneaky in a mean way. Like think of a snake. We often use a snake that way. In fact, we have a similar saying for snakes, being a snake in the grass. So you're lying so low into the weeds means you're being sneaky, deceitful, in a bad way. In fact, the next line says, I bet you're going to ambush me. To ambush someone means to attack them without warning. So in other words, he's going to make this accusation, which is totally untrue. So it surprises her. So it's an ambush. It's an attack without warning. Okay, so then we continue. You'd have me down, down, down on my knees. Okay, so when we say someone's down on their knees, it could mean a few things, but basically they're not in a good position. They could be down on their knees because they're begging, pleading, asking for help, or they could be down on their knees because they're injured. And I think that's what she's referring to here, since it says she was ambushed. Again, I'm not going to try to explain too much what she means. It's a little tricky to understand. But just based on the situation, she says, you're going to ambush me. So she's down on her knees. So in other words, she's injured. And she doesn't mean physically injured, really. She means emotionally because of this accusation. So she's down on her knees. And then then the next line is, now wouldn't you, Barracuda? So when she says, now wouldn't you? She's basically means you would. She's asking it. It's a question. Now, wouldn't you? But the way the question's asked, it means you would. You're going to do this. You're a terrible person. Barracuda. You are a barracuda. So she's calling this person a barracuda, which is a nasty person. All right, so then we get to the next verse. Back over time, we were all trying for free. You and the porpoise and me. Okay, so here's where it gets a little confusing. Okay, back over time. So just talking about the past. When you say over time, you just mean things that have been happening in the past. We were all trying for free. When you say for free, it means not getting paid. Doesn't mean to be free like freedom. So we were all trying for free. I'm honestly not sure what she means there. But again, for free means to do something without getting paid. If you do something for free, you're not getting paid. You're volunteering. You and the porpoise and me. Porpoise, that's the word I mentioned earlier. It's like a dolphin. What? Who is she talking about there? The only thing I can guess here is that she is likely talking about her sister, Nancy. Because she's obviously not going to mention her sister Nancy in this song, given what the song is about. So she has to come up with something else. And you know, dolphins are nice creatures. So we're going to use a nice creature, a porpoise. Porpoise is like a type of dolphin. It's a nice creature. So this guy is the barracuda. Nancy is a porpoise. Cute, innocent, little animal, well, big animal in the ocean, and he's the barracuda. So you and the porpoise and me. So I think that's what she's talking about there. No right, no wrong. You're selling a song, a name, whisper game. Okay. No right, no wrong. What that means, I'm telling you a little bit more about what she means in the song here than I was expecting to. But no right, no wrong. That means he doesn't believe in right or wrong. He's got no conscience. We call that a conscience, the little brain in the little part in your head where you're thinking, oh, I shouldn't do that. That's wrong to do. And then the bad part of your brain is saying, yeah, but it would be fun. Your conscience is telling you, no, that's what tells you right from wrong. So he's got no conscience. Just trying to sell a song. Sell a name. And whisper game. The whisper game or the secret game, we have this little game. It's usually played with kids, but the idea of it, because it's how rumors spread a lot of times, the idea of it is still something that adults kind of relate to. But we play it as a game as kids in America. So what you'll do is you'll have the whole class, maybe 10, 20 students all lined up. The first person, the teacher will whisper something to them. That person will then whisper to the next person in line, whisper to the next person, whisper to the next person, all the way down the line. Well, because you're whispering, sometimes you don't hear it quite correctly. So you go through all these people, 10, 15, 20 people. Usually by the time you get to the end of the line, doesn't mean the same thing you started with. Or it doesn't, well, it isn't the same thing you started with. The words aren't even the same. I shouldn't say it doesn't mean the same thing. The words aren't even the same. The whole thing changes. And in this case, when we talk about it as adults, we're talking about something very negative, where people will maybe change something on purpose. They want to make it more dramatic. Oh, it's such an interesting story. So they add a little bit to it. Then the next person tells the story. They add a little bit to it. Next person tells the story. They add a little bit to it. And all these little pieces that people are adding, they're just small details, but they're not true. And so everyone starts adding all these details, and the whole story ends up changing. And so suddenly Anne and Nancy are in an inappropriate relationship, which is not true. Okay, so we continue on with the song. And if the real thing don't do the trick, you better make up something quick. All right, so when we say if something doesn't do the trick, by the way, she's using improper English there again. She says if the real thing don't do the trick, it should be doesn't. It's a song. We use bad English in songs sometimes. So if the real thing don't do the trick, when something doesn't do the trick, it means it's not working. Remember what she said. You're trying to sell a song. You're trying to sell your name. You're trying to get popular because, ooh, you have this story. You have this story to tell. So if the real story is not good enough, it's not working, people aren't listening to you, you better make up something quick. So he's making up this story to make it more exciting. So everyone's going to listen to him. Ooh, did you hear what he had to say about them? That's what this is about. And this is why she's so angry. She thinks this guy's just making up this story on his own because it's a good story to tell people. And then he actually came and said it to her. So this is why she's so angry. So if the real thing don't do the trick, you better make up something quick. You're going to burn to the wick. Okay, so here's another one where I don't quite understand what she means. When you say someone's going to burn, that usually means that's usually a very mean thing to say. It means they're going to burn in hell because they're a terrible human being. That is probably not something you put in a song. But the reason I don't quite understand what she means here is she says you're going to burn to the wick. No one says that saying that way. But we do have a thing about burning a candle. The wick is the little piece of the candle that you light. That's the wick. We do have a thing about burning a candle at both ends, and that means you're working really hard. You're working day and night, both ends of the day. You're burning your candle at both ends, which means you're going to get tired. I don't think that's what she would mean there, though, right? She's angry. In fact, the next line says, oh, Barracuda. So she calls him a Barracuda again. So I think she probably actually does mean there that he's going to burn. So in English, especially they probably have a similar saying in French and in Spanish and in Italian. I'm not really sure. They probably do have a similar saying because those are all nations where Christianity is the main religion. And in Christianity, they believe in hell and heaven. And in hell, it's supposed to be fiery. It's It's where the devil's from. So when someone says you're going to burn, it means you're going to hell. So I think that's probably what she means here. Again, I don't know. A little hard to understand all the words. But all I can tell you is in English, when we say someone's going to burn, that's usually what it means. Not sure she means that this time, but that's usually what it means. We say someone's going to burn, it means they're a horrible person and they're going to hell. Okay, so then we continue on with the next verse after she says Barracuda. Sell me, sell you, the porpoise said. Okay, so that line, I honestly have no idea. I'm not sure what she means by sell me, sell you, but you're talking about selling people. So it probably means you're not literally going to sell people. It probably means that you're just doing anything for money, which maybe he would be. And the porpoise said, again, I think the porpoise might be Nancy here. Not sure. Unclear what she's talking about. Dive down deep within you. I think that you got the blues too. All right. So when someone has the blues, what that means is they are sad. So what she's saying, she's actually being almost a little bit nice here, because when we tell someone to look deep within them, we mean to look at their feelings, look at their soul. So she says, dive down deep within you. I think she means look within yourself. Not necessarily dive down. To dive is to jump into the water. She's probably just using that as a metaphor because we're talking about a barracuda and a porpoise. So I believe she's telling him to look deep within himself, because in order to be this evil, he has to have some sort of sadness in him. He has to have the blues. I think that's what she's talking about there. Again, not sure, hard to understand all of the meaning here, but that's what the blues is. That I can tell you. I can tell you the English meaning. So when you say, I think you got the blues too, it means I think you're sad also. Okay. All that night and all the next, swam without looking back. Swam without looking back. Okay. Here, once again, no idea what she means, but I can tell you in terms of the English here, swam without looking back. When you go somewhere without looking back, you're usually not talking about swimming. I think she's just using swimming. Again, same metaphor. Barracudas, porpoises, we're in the water, swimming, okay? But when we talk about not looking back, we don't mean that physically. We don't mean, oh, looking behind you. No. When we talk about not looking back, we mean you don't care about what you did. So a lot of times we use this in a positive way. You know, something bad has happened. You got to move forward, make your life better. I think she means this in a negative way here. I think she means that he doesn't care about the damage he's doing. He's causing a lot of harm by making these accusations. And she's saying he's just swimming without looking back. He doesn't care about the people he hurts. He doesn't care about anything bad that he's done. Okay? And we continue on. Made for the Western fools, silly, silly fools. What does that mean? Made for the Western fools, silly, silly fools? All right, so I think this is making sort of a cultural reference. It's not clear. Western fools? What does she mean by Western fools? What I think she's getting at here is in Western culture, anything related to sex is we don't talk about that. So if you hear stories about it, it's very exciting. There's this story about this. So this story about Anne and Nancy having this inappropriate relationship, that's a big deal, that big story. So this story is made for Westerners, Western fools. Fools are stupid people. People that will believe this. Silly, silly fools. So these are dumb people who are going to believe this. Now, in Western culture, we do use the word stupid a little differently than you do here in Thailand. Here in Thailand, it's a very mean word. In America, we use it a little something more softly. It's still bad in this case. Sometimes we actually use it in a good way. We use it almost the same way we use the word silly. Like you may tell someone, oh, you're so stupid. And we don't mean anything mean by that. We just mean, oh, you're acting silly. You're acting funny. You're acting a little bit crazy. It's not always meant cruel, like a cruel word. But here, when she says fools, which means stupid, that is stupid in a bad way. That is dumb, idiot. So she's saying that this story is for these dumb people who are going to believe this lie. And it's for Western culture. Okay, we continue. If the real thing don't do the trick, you better make up something quick. All right, and so we're just repeating here. And we repeat that old line, you're going to burn again, Barracuda. So that's how the song ends. So that's another reason why I think that probably is what she means when she says you're going to burn. Because she's not happy. And that's how she ends the song. You're going to burn, 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 burn it to the wick, Barracuda. Again, I can't be certain that's what she means. So why does she say burn it to the wick? Not sure. But that's the song. So there's quite a few kind of weird things in there that are good to understand, like the word ambush you maybe don't know, or when she's talking about being low into the weeds, or some sayings like it never fails, or if something won't do the trick. So we got a lot of little sayings in there that are good to learn. All right, so that's the song. Now, again, the band name is Heart. The name of the song is Barracuda, and Heart had quite a lot of hits. They're a very unique band. Female singers doing hard rock just was not very common back then. There were a few others around that did. Pat Benatar was very popular. She was mostly not doing hard rock. I mean, she was rock, but not hard rock. But she did have a few songs that were maybe a little more hard rock. Joan Jett was another one around that time. Her songs were more hard rock. We might do her someday for this show. She has some pretty fun music. So there were certainly a few. But there weren't a lot. There's many more today, although they're still the minority. I mean, most hard rock, heavy metal singers are still men. But they're a little more common these days. They were quite uncommon back then. So they're a very unique band, which I think helped them get attention. But really, I can't say that they were just riding the attention of, ooh, we have women. No, they were just good. They were good. They had a lot of great songs. So not just Barracuda. They had Crazy on You, which is another great song, a really good song by theirs that I like. Magic Man. Probably my least favorite of their very popular songs. It's not bad, just not my favorite, not my personal favorite. And What About Love is another big song of theirs. Then they had several more that were maybe a little lesser hits. Those are probably like their top 4 hits. They had several others that were a little lesser hits, but still pretty big. So lots of good songs. So as I always do, I would encourage you to check them out. Again, the band is Heart, spelled just like heart, H-E-A-R-T, Heart. Lots of good songs. Go check them out. All right. Thank you for joining us for today's Musical Musings program. Please stay with us and make sure you tune back in next week for another great song. Also, please don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Thank you.
Musical musings, musical musings.